Ladies and gentlemen, honored guests, selectmen, volunteers, ceremony participants, Vietnam vets and families, and all vets, welcome. My name is Johannes Heinrich Wagner, and I received my Army ROTC commission as a lieutenant in 1963 at Cornell University, and deferred until 1965 to complete my master's degree at UMass Amherst. At the age of 23, I completed airborne school and was given command of a 400-man advanced infantry training company, and 1 year later was deployed to Nam to command the 79th Engineer Group Headquarters Company, Airborne Combat Engineers, supporting the Republic of Korea, ROKS, the Philippine Cavalry, PhilCAG, and the Chinese missions in 66, 67, two field forces. I was awarded the Bronze Star, the Vietnamese Cross of Gallantry, and the Civil Actions Medals, amongst others. I'm honored to be the MC of this ceremony. On Thursday, we commemorated the supreme sacrifice of over 58,000 servicemen and women by the Gold Blue Star Mothers. And on Friday, we honored the veterans and families of 83,000 POWs and MIAs from all wars with a missing man flag presentation by the Rolling Thunder Motorcycle Organization. However, tonight, we're here to honor Vietnam vets and their families for all the sacrifices they made. 3,403,100 personnel served in the Southeast Asia Theater. 2.6 million served in Nam, and over 50% in harm's way. Over 58,000 were killed, and 303,704 were wounded. And that doesn't include any PTSD victims afterwards. At this time, I would like to ask all vets, Vietnam vets, and their families to stand and be recognized. Please stand. All the families, do it. Please remain standing. Now I'd ask all vets and their families to stand and be recognized. God bless you all. Please be seated. Please be aware of the following protocol. At my command, pledge, national anthem, parade of colors, invocation and benediction, the rifle salute and taps. I will ask you to rise, uncover, hats and hands over your hearts. At the command, present arms. Order arms brings you back to normal. Be advised that those sensitive to rifle volleys and children should be prepared to block their ears. Anyone who feels ill at any time, please have someone accompany you to the first aid tent. Ask an usher to assist, or in an emergency, call 911. With that said, let us begin our ceremony. Peter Gordon is our bagpiper, a Marine from 78 to 82, playing the pipes for 15 years, featured with the Rhode Island Highlanders. Colors will be advanced by the Wareham ROTC, the Wareham Police Department, and posted by the Coast Guard Color Guard. Musical tributes will be performed by Wareham's own Amy De Silva, who is a senior Dean's List and honors student at UMaine. She's sung since 5 years of age and has appeared at Fenway Park 5 times, the Mass State House, and the KC Royals. She recorded American Tears for Iraq and Afghan veterans and transmits it throughout the world via website americantears.net. The Pledge of Allegiance will be led by local student Gabrielle Lafrancois and Minnie Patel. Sergeant at Arms, advance and post the colors. All rise and uncover. Order, arms. Please remain standing and uncovered for the invocation, which will be led by Pastor Colin Wright, a Navy and Reserves veteran from 73 to 79. He received Christ as his Lord, earned a BS degree in 87 from Valley Forge Christian, and was ordained in 1990. He's pastored 4 churches and ministers for Team Challenge, a Christian drug and alcohol rehab center. Please welcome Reverend Colin White. Right.
It's a pleasure to be here. It's an honor to greet each one of you. I'm sure that if the soldiers of the past could stand before us today, each one would declare a heartfelt thank you. Thank you for remembering. Thank you for honoring our fellow fallen brethren. May God bless you. May God keep you. May He cause His face to shine upon you and grant you peace. Today we gather together to celebrate life and to grieve for those who gave their lives, to celebrate the freedom of life that was earned by each fallen soldier, and to grieve for those who gave their lives, to grieve for the parents and the sons and the daughters. We will always remember and will always be there for them. May we never forget, and may God continue to bless this great nation. And may He grant peace to those who have suffered the loss, and grant rest to those who have given the ultimate sacrifice, their lives. Let's bow our heads for a moment of silence, please. Father, thank you. We ask you to overshadow this place with your presence today. We ask you to bless each family. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Please be seated. Next, I'd like to welcome Amy De Silva to sing the national anthem, and Gabriella De Francois and Minnie Patel to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm sorry I keep making you get up. It's aerobics. Please stand. That's WCTV. They're always joking around. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's now my pleasure to introduce a Vietnam vet who was drafted in 1969, trained as an artilleryman and deployed at the age of 20 to Nam in 1970 to Kon War Zone D3 Corps, including Laos and Cambodia, returning in 1971. He helped organize the Taunton area Viet Vets to educate the public and assist veterans. Please welcome Spec 5 Fire Direction Control Dennis Proulx.
I put my glasses on. I'm getting kind of old. Thank you very much for the introduction. I'm a charter member of the Taunton Area Vietnam Veterans Association. We are an independent group, not a chapter of any other group. We formed in the late 70s and incorporated in 1983. Why did we form? We were treated pretty badly when we came home. We weren't treated as soldiers that fought for their country just like other wars. Right, guys? Can you imagine being told to get out of your uniform as soon as you can so we wouldn't be harassed? That's a sin. We decided to form the Taunton Area Vietnam Veterans Association because we were tired of being told we didn't win our war. We set up our goals and main purposes to never let anyone forget Vietnam and those that fought there, to help Vietnam vets and their families, to represent Vietnam vets at ceremonies and parades, and to continue the efforts to return all the POW MIAs. We are honored to be a part of Wareham's moving wall. This falls right into what we're all about. How many here are Vietnam vets? Raise your hand. That's a lot. Welcome home, guys and ladies. How many have never seen the wall before? It's unbelievable, isn't it? It really gets you. I just love it. It's so solemn. Well, we're glad you came. This is a special place, a hallowed place, a greeting place where you can reunite with your buddies like the old days. Now to talk about those that gave it all. They didn't hold signs and protest the war. They didn't spit on those coming home. They didn't burn their draft cards. They didn't run off to Canada. They joined and served. They were drafted and served. They served their country like soldiers in all our wars, and they did their very best. They made the ultimate sacrifice. They deserve the respect of all, like all those that fell throughout our history. They are what makes our country so great, soldiers dedicated to the United States. Remember President Kennedy's speech when he asked, "Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country"? Remember that? Well, they did just that. They had the will to fight and die for us. They didn't lose the war like history wants us to believe. Politics should never be mixed into wars. The worst thing that we can do is forget those that gave all. They will never be forgotten, and thanks to all of you and those that sponsor the moving wall so that all can come to pay tribute to them. Speaking of never forget, there are over 1,600 on the wall that we have to remember and have to continue to fight for, those that have never come home. This is our fight, and it is for them, their families, and friends. To find them on the wall, look for a name with a cross next to it. They have never returned. Those have a diamond were missing, but their remains have returned. All Vietnam vets feel that we aren't home until all are home. That true, guys? Yeah. The wall and the moving wall truly carry the energy and spirit of those on it. For a lot, it is difficult to face the wall. That's easy to understand. But once you do, put your hand on their names and you'll feel their presence. They are there behind the wall looking at you. Tell them you will never forget them and will never let history forget them. They would do it for you. Never, never say goodbye to them because they will always live on forever in your heart. Thank you. God bless America. God bless all veterans. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis. It's now my honor to welcome a Viet vet who emigrated from the Azores in 1949, was drafted and trained as an artilleryman and deployed to Dong Tam Nam with the 9th Infantry Division at the age of 19. He holds the Bronze Star and several Army Commendation Medals discharged in 1970. He has an endless list of achievements in the Portuguese and church community and is secretary of the Taunton Vietnam Vets. Please welcome Spec 5, E5, Henry Mello. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me to say a few words here tonight. To all of you who assisted in any way of bringing this moving wall to Wareham, a big thank you. The logistics involved in this task are immense. I know that all the surrounding cities and towns appreciate your effort. Today we honor more than 58,000 heroes whose name appear on those walls. They made the ultimate sacrifice for all of us. The Taunton Area Vietnam Veterans Association is about remembering that we still have to have closure for those still not home. We want to keep the pressure on our government to continue looking for those missing in action. This does not begin and end with the Vietnam veterans. We want all MIAs accounted for all wars. The Taunton Area Vietnam Veterans Association wants to recognize the Vietnam veterans because of the treatment we received after we all came home. They fought as well as any soldier in any war. Thank you. To the veterans that did not come home, but who cannot talk about their experiences. While in combat, I talk about what they saw. I know how difficult it is because of the pain it'll cause you and the people around you. I still find it difficult to talk about. But the more I talk about it, the more I'm able to handle it. And there are days I can't handle it. But I've come to learn that's part of the healing process. It took me nearly 50 years of holding back those memories, those feelings of guilt. Finally, I realized I needed to go to the VA for help. By the time I got to my appointment at the VA, I was a total mess. I wasn't sleeping, crying most of the time, but they assured me that they could help me. So I put my trust in them. They felt that having one-on-one with a therapist was the best way to help me. Her name was Anna. We tried different therapeutic methods, but nothing really worked. Then she suggested that I write down all of the things that happened in Vietnam, starting from the day I arrived until the day I left. I was writing, and the tears were falling on the paper I was writing on. But I kept writing and writing until I thought I was done. Then I went back, reading it over and over again, adding more detail and more tears about the time I spent in Vietnam. I found a book about the 9th Infantry Division in Vietnam. It's called 9th Infantry Division, Unparalleled, Unequivocal, by Major General Ira A. Hunt, Jr., who served in the 9th Infantry Division, and I served in a place called Dong Tam, that's south of Saigon. I realized I had to confirm all the things I wrote about. The book reassured me what I was writing really did happen. I was going through the writing process. I was assured by my therapist, Anna, that at the VA hospital in Providence, that I was making progress. She said, the memories will never go away, but now you have the ability to handle them as they come to you. She told me that I had to share this story to help heal other veterans. It was a difficult process, but because of that process, I am able to be here speaking to you tonight. I hope that all veterans can find that inner strength to start a conversation about their feelings while at war. A thank you to all veterans, especially the Vietnam veterans. Welcome home.
It's now my great honor and privilege to introduce Brigadier General James R. Carpenter, 1971 Vietnam vet, native of Vermont, who has served our country for 35 years from 1969 to 2004. I would add that his wife also served with him for all those years, as all of your families supported you. I call her the Assistant Brigadier General. Jean Carpenter, would you please rise? Thank you. Brigadier General enlisted in 1969 and was commissioned that year as second lieutenant through infantry OCS and rose from company commander to battalion and brigade positions, became the commandant of the Hawaii Military Academy, commanding officer of the Regional Training Institute, helped develop the Military Educational Center at Bellows Air Station. He then assumed command of the Hawaii Army National Guard, with 3,500 service personnel serving in headquarters, state area commands, and 3 other commands. His military education includes Advanced Infantry OCS, Command and General Staff College, and the Army War College. While commanding these many positions, he chaired the University of Hawaii at Manoa and Hilo, Human Nutrition, Food and Animal Sciences, Human Resources Department, College of Tropical Agriculture, and Human Resources from 2007 to 2009. He obtained over $2.3 million in funding and published 251 articles and abstracts, leading to the National Association of College Teachers in Agriculture Teaching Award of Merit, as well as numerous other excellence in teaching awards. He was a research and professor for 35 years, from 1975 to 2009. His military awards are literally too many to mention, but includes the Meritorious Service Medal, Air Medal, Army Commendation Medal, and various state medals from Vermont and Hawaii. Rather than expounding on his extensive biography of this veteran, I would rather he have the time to speak to you about what he feels is important about this evening. Please welcome this lifelong patriot with a big round of applause, Brigadier General James R. Carpenter.
Ladies and gentlemen, fellow officers and enlisted soldiers of all branches of the military, families and friends, aloha and good evening. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us here at this beautiful Vietnam Veterans Memorial Moving Wall to honor those who have served our nation and they gave their lives to preserve our freedom. I'm proud to be an American, a soldier, a husband, a father, a grandfather, and it is a pleasure for me to be your keynote speaker. I'd like to thank Colonel Dunan for her tribute last evening to the MIA and POW soldiers. What a great service, even though the rain poured down on this site. And just enjoy this beautiful wall that we have. Thank you, Lieutenant Wagner, for the introduction. Thank you also to the organizing committee for the invitation to speak at this special occasion and to share my personal tribute to honor all Vietnam veterans and their families, some who have made the ultimate sacrifice for the freedom we have in this great nation, and others who came home physically and psychologically impaired and have suffered the consequences of that service for many, many years. Thank you to the families and friends who have dedicated the time and effort to care for and support these individuals. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your love, your dedication, and support, and your commitment to assist these friends, these loved ones, and these brave soldiers. What a privilege and honor it is for me to speak to you here at the Mobile Vietnam Veterans Memorial Wall. The wall in Washington was dedicated on November 11th, 1982. And as of Memorial Day of 2007, the number I understand is 58,318 names on that wall. These names are engraved on the face of the wall as a representative of their sacrifice. I want you to understand that these names belong to real people. Each name, a loved one, a father, a mother, a brother, a sister, an uncle or an aunt, or other family member, and a friend or a comrade in arms. For some of you here tonight, it might be a parent or a grandparent you never knew. We lost them far too early, many of them in their late teens and early 20s, before their lives really begun. We lost them because they were very dedicated and courageous soldiers and who answered the call of duty and paid the ultimate price for our freedom. In addition, many of you may be family or friends of soldiers from any of the military services who suffered severe physical and emotional impairment during their tour of duty, or who have died from severe injuries since their return to the States. I grew up in southern Vermont, and after getting my Bachelor of Science degree in agriculture at the University of Vermont and my Master of Science in Animal Science at the University of Hawaii, I was drafted, but I immediately enlisted to go to OCS. I completed my basic and AIT training at Fort Ord, California, received my infantry second lieutenant's commission in December of 1969 at Fort Benning, Georgia. After serving a little over a year as an armor platoon leader and a battalion liaison officer with an armor battalion, I went to Vietnam, and I served in Vietnam as an infantry platoon leader and a Company XO with Delta Company, 1st of the 6th Battalion, 298th Regiment, Marical Division. I was stationed in Chulai, south of Da Nang in I Corps, and most of the time operated out of Firebase Dottie. I am so thankful for the dedicated, devoted, and committed soldiers I served with while there. I know that the political environment and the U.S. acceptance and even appreciation for the service and total dedication of the Vietnam soldiers was not at all good during the period of our service. In contrast to today, where we have an all-volunteer military, many of the soldiers, sailors, Marines, and airmen of the Vietnam War were drafted, and they proudly served our country there. As Major General James Spider Marks, U.S. Army retired, once wrote, and I quote, "The Vietnam generation of leaders adapted magnificently as America was torn apart by a cultural revolution that fundamentally put our nation at risk. This generation of military leaders stood firm. They remained the stiff resistance to that chaos that thrived in uncertainty. It's no exaggeration that they helped save our nation, end quote. I'm sure that like soldiers in early wars, the Vietnam veterans have not been very open to sharing or discussing their horrendous experiences, the terrible physical and mental injuries and or permanent impairment. Even death of fellow soldiers and close friends they witnessed while there. I know and am thankful that the good Lord protected me during my tour there, but I can identify with the deep feelings of sadness, anger, and bitterness many have. In fact, this past week, my mother's neighbor in Vermont served in Vietnam. He returned home from Vietnam and got spit on as he came off the airplane. That's not the way we treat our veterans, our soldiers. I know that the first day I joined my platoon in Vietnam, I had the difficult responsibility of assisting with letter writing to the families of the recently killed platoon leader and other platoon members I never met. In addition to listening to the soldiers' expression of physical and emotional pain and trauma, my key role was keeping the platoon focused on the mission, the effective use of their skills and abilities, and not allow them to dwell on the desire to just kill in retaliation for their recent losses. It was a great privilege for me to serve our nation in uniform and to have the opportunity to lead, guide, and develop the finest young men and women our country had to offer. I left Vietnam, but truth be told, it hasn't left me. Triggered occasionally by the most ordinary sights, sounds, or smell, I am instantly transported there, however briefly. And I'm sure in this, I'm not alone. I can still hear those bombs, the fixed-wing aircraft, the gunships, the helicopters, the artillery rounds pounding around us, track vehicles and machine guns, and those unanticipated explosions and cries of pain from injury. I know that many of you must likely feel the same, or even have more severe, catastrophic, and troubling memories than me. Would I serve and do it again? Absolutely. These brave Americans exemplified the best of American values under the harshest of conditions, far from home on battlefields with names both familiar and lesser known. Whether it was in Con Tin, Khe Sanh, Asa Valley, Hue, Hamburger Hill, Chu Lai, and Da Nang in the north, Dak To, Con Tu, Pleiku, La Drang, Ben Matuidan, Nha Trang in the central region, or Dalat, Tan Son Nhut, Cam Ranh Bay, Ben Hoa, and the Mekong Delta and Saigon during the Tet Offensive in the southern region. We can all remember the various experiences, the camaraderie, the joys and pains. It could have been at our base camps, our support bases, our landing zones as we went into the fields, the jungle, mountain, or rice paddies where we were assigned, ambush zones, and unanticipated firefights, even potential field hospitals. Some even spent time in enemy prisons. Certainly, this list of locations is not all-inclusive. It may not cover the location or the circumstances of your service there. And if this is the case, I'm sorry. I apologize. Remember the valor, courage, and sacrifice displayed by these extraordinary men and women who have served our nation. Their actions gave us the freedom we have and have changed the course of history. Our military today is honorably serving our country throughout many regions of the world. Many of these areas are very hostile, and they are willingly putting their lives on the line for you and me to maintain our freedom. You probably realize that as a nation, we live in perilous times and face complex threats. On this special occasion and all such days, when we pause to remember those names on that beautiful wall, a symbol, there are essential lessons for the young and indeed for all the rest of us as well. Appreciate the blessings of freedom. Recognize the power and virtue of sacrifice. And respect, respect those who have and are giving everything on behalf of the common good. This reminds us of what we may achieve when we put together as one nation, respecting each other with all of our myriad of differences. But by coming together, we can fight any battle and face any challenge. American patriotism demands more of a citizen than taking off our hat when hearing the national anthem. It is, or should be, an inherent sense of devotion to fellow Americans. Our elected officials may make grave decisions when choosing to send their fellow citizens into battle. We should all feel a bit of discomfort whenever Americans are in harm's way on our behalf. It reminds us of our obligations to take care of those who have taken care of us and those who take care of us today. That means ensuring that our men and women in uniform have the best training, equipment, and the preparation, any preparation that's needed to do their jobs. They serve us for our freedom. Because even in times of peace, we must remain vigilant and in a very new and still unpredictable and very dangerous world. Their spirit of freedom continues to live today as our young men and women in the military place themselves in grave danger throughout the world. Our men and women in uniform continue to demonstrate those same values throughout the world. They embrace loyalty, faith, and allegiance to the U.S. Constitution, the military, and their fellow soldiers. They carry out their duty with honor and integrity, treating all with dignity and respect. They put the welfare of the nation and their people before their own in the highest tradition of selfless service. Not only today, but every day, I am proud to be an American. I look out among you and I know you are too. No matter what walk of life, we are proud to be Americans. As you leave this place this evening, ask yourself as an American, what can I do to honor the service and sacrifice of those we honor today? What can I do to ensure his or her legacy continues? What did so many Americans fight and die for? How can I best remember and honor their sacrifice? Thank you again for the opportunity to address you this evening. May God always bless the United States and all of the American heroes we honor today. And may he bless as well those who still stand at the ready. And may he give us the wisdom to do what is right for tomorrow. Their sacrifices and those of all Americans in war are the armatures supporting one nation under God with liberty and justice for all. Might we continue to pledge ourselves to our nation under God and trust in Him, as our monetary coins and bills state. Veterans, Vietnam veterans and families this evening, I salute you for your courage, your dedication, and service. Thank you for that commitment. As we say in Hawaii, aloha, mahalo, and God bless. Good evening to you all. Thank you.
General. In thanks for the General speaking to us tonight, we are giving him a commemorative plaque. Never forget the Moving Wall Vietnam Veterans Memorial in recognition and appreciation for your participation in the Vietnam Veterans Moving Wall ceremony presented to Brigadier General James R. Carpenter, United States Army National Guard. We must never forget. Peace. Sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We will never forget, and we will honor those that make that sacrifice.
Thank you, sir. And now I'd like to welcome back Amy De Silva to sing America the Beautiful and American Tears. Please stand for America the Beautiful and uncover.
Beautiful for spacious
Please be seated.
Sometimes I think about America.
Little lady, big voice. By the way, the mosquitoes that are biting you were imported from Vietnam. I'd like to now have a symbolic dedication of 50th commemorative pins, Vietnam War. And I'd like to introduce Sergeant Mike Parker. He's son of a Vietnam vet, and he also served in Lugar province, Afghan. He is part of a group that are members and represent the 50th commemoration of the Vietnam War and the committee in Washington. He'll proceed with a symbolic ceremony with a few vets awarded pins. And after the ceremony, if any of you are Vietnam vets that want pins, if you go to the welcome tent, you'll be pinned. You won't have to enlist. Sergeant Parker.
Good evening. My name is Sergeant Mike Parker. I'm from the Vietnam War Commemoration out of Washington, D.C. I'm the son of a Vietnam veteran, and I'm damn proud of it. My colleague Rebecca Shorts and I, we flew in from Washington, D.C. to come here to Wareham, and it's an honor. Absolutely beautiful site, beautiful place, wonderful people. So we're glad to be here. Show of hands, how many of you ever heard of the Vietnam War Commemoration? A few of you. And show of hands again, how many of you guys are Vietnam veterans? Okay. So just a little bit about who we are. In 2008, the National Defense Authorization Act empowered the Secretary of Defense to conduct a program on behalf of the nation that commemorated the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War. The law authorized the Secretary to coordinate, support, and facilitate federal, state, and local government commemorative programs and activities. To that end, the United States of America Vietnam War Commemoration was formed. By presidential proclamation on May 25, 2012, the commemoration extends from Memorial Day 2012 through Veterans Day 2025. So what does that mean that we do in short? Well, we're a staff of about 24 people, and our goal is to reach every Vietnam veteran across the world. What we've done so far is about 1.4 million, so we have a long way to go until 2025. So living Vietnam veterans and Vietnam-era veterans are eligible for something special. Not only do we like to give thanks and say welcome home, but we also have a special commemorative lapel pin, which some gentlemen will be pinned here on stage, and then the rest of you guys can be pinned at the booth. But in order to be qualifying for the lapel pin, it's any living United States veteran who served on active duty in the armed forces at any time during November 1st, 1955 to May 15th, 1975, regardless of location. That means there's no distinction of service. If you served on a ship during this time period off the coast of Vietnam, you are eligible to come by my booth and get a pin. If you served in Korea during this time period, you are eligible to stop by the booth to receive a pin. If you served Finding Charlie through the jungles of Vietnam, stop by the booth, receive a pin. If you served on active duty here in Wareham and never went anyone else, but you were between that time period, stop by my booth and receive a pin. It's wonderful to be here. It's an honor to be able to meet all of you and join the nation and thank a Vietnam veteran. Service. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Well, as the President of the United States, a grateful nation. Welcome home. Thank you for your service. You don't have to salute me. Roger that. On behalf of the President of the United States and grateful nation, welcome home. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Sergeant Parker. The Nam War divided the country. Those of us who served and our families who sacrificed were insulted, abused, confused, terribly hurt that those we saw die or were wounded around us seemed not to do so for a useful purpose. We thought we were honoring our country, but our country turned on us. My wife suffered as much prejudice as I, people asking, why did your husband leave you pregnant and with a 1.5-year-old child? I'd like to recognize my wife of 56 years who has endured me forever. Stand up. When I got a job and joined a 250-man private engineering company in New York City, I was one of 2 veterans. They all avoided service with the Kennedy bills, so you couldn't help to think, how is this fair? But you know, we went to serve. We went to serve. We didn't go to Canada, we didn't ask for amnesty, we didn't join the Free Love Society and Flower Power and that crap, and we got no credit. We were told to change into civilian clothes when we were flown back from Nam to avoid being abused in the airport. However, I wore my uniform proudly. Screw them. Tonight is our night and your night. You and your families deserve to be honored. I was proud to command many wonderful men during my service. I'll always respect you all for your commitment. God bless you all and all our servicemen in harm's way. Thank you for the honor of being your Master of Ceremonies. I'd like now to introduce Pastor Wright for the benediction. Please rise and cover.
In a moment, you're going to hear taps. And these are the words to that song. Day is gone, gone the sun, from the lake, from the hill, from the sky. All is well, safely rest. God is nigh. Thanks and praise for our days, neath the sun, neath the stars, neath the sky. As we go this, we know God is nigh. Fades the light, and afar goeth the day, and the star shineth bright. Fare thee well, day has gone, night is nigh. Go to sleep, peaceful sleep. May the soldier or sailor God keep, on the land or the deep, safe in sleep. Love, good night must thou go, when the days and the night need thee so. All is well, speed all to their rest. Would you bow your heads in a short prayer? Father God, thank you for visiting us this night to honor all these veterans and their loved ones. And God, we ask you to continue to bless these and bless those who have fallen. In Jesus' precious and holy name we pray. Amen.
Please remain standing for the rifle salute and taps. Taps will be played by Sergeant First Class Frank Noonan, who spent 26 years in the Marines, Army National Guard, and Army, and 15 years as a teacher. He owned the Onset Village Music. He directs many bands, including the New Bedford Bay State Band. Please recover the colors.
Order, march. Detail. Attack. But point. Arm. Gap left. Space. Ready. Aim. Aim. Aim.
Present arms.
Bravo.
Order, arms. Thank you all for coming. Welcome home.